Hello and welcome back. So, a lot of players have been asking me to explain how I managed to find so many targets in my PvP roams, and well, this will be a hunter's guide to PvP. Now, I like to do PvP with generally all ships, including cruisers, frigates, even battle cruisers and battleships, but my personal ship of choice are cruisers, in this case Cinnabal and Arbitrator Cortops. Those two ships are my personal favorites, and I have a lot of experience in those two ships. Now, as for the Cinnabal, this is a faction cruiser, one of my personal again favorite ships. And first thing that you need to know is the ship's bonuses. They are very important. They can decide what fit you want to choose on your ship. Now, for this ship, for the Cinnabal, it has bonuses that are perfect for solo roams and perfect for solo PvP. Onto the fit 990.81 DPS, it is okay. It can go up until 1.2000 cold, which is again excellent DPS. My weapon of choice are the C-type medium autocannons. They work very good on a Cinnabal, that's why I have that good DPS. In the medium slots, you want to have at least one disruptor and one webifer if you are close range. Eventually, you are going to have to be close range in order to keep the enemy ship under the scrambler or under the disruptor. Now, in this case, I have one scrambler and one disruptor. Now, I would like to be able to change the scrambler or disruptor into one Nosferatu, because that module can be very important in PvP if you're fighting someone that has a neutralizer. Also, you can fit dual scramblers, but again, my choice is going to be to use a medium Nosferatu, which I don't have power grid for, but I'm working on that. And in this current case, to keep the enemy ship away from warping off, from my personal experience, a lot of ships had stabs, warp stabs, so I need to have one scrambler and one disruptor, but one disruptor or one scrambler should work in almost 100% of cases. As for the drones, well, you can pick whatever drone you like. In the end, I use hammerheads for this ship. Would like to use also warriors, they are also perfectly fine, and other drones are also going to do the job. So the drone choice is mostly dependent on player to player, which one you like to use the most. In low slots, now this is where things get interesting. I have a MVD. This ship is very fast, and in solo roams you want to approach enemy ships very quickly in order to scramble them or to use the disruptor on them. So my module of choice here is going to be a MVD. Of course, a dual propulsion fit also works to have a MVD and one afterburner. For the tank, it is recommended that you have at least some form of tank, in my case shield tank, one invulnerability field, that I like to replace with one damage control. The damage control is mostly a panic button that I have that can boost up your resistance for a short amount of time. And in most cases it works for this ship. It has a bonus on the damage control, so I am not too much worried about getting, well, shot down in this ship. And there you can see the bonuses, and of course the good old gyros. That's where I get my hot DPS from. Hot DPS should be around 1.5 thousand. We will see that later on in the demonstration part, but I use these to quickly eliminate the enemy ship, because in this case I have to be very fast at killing the enemies. If not, they can call in for support, and that's where things can get spicy. Okay, on to the rigs. Dual burst aerators and one collision accelerator. That's the rigs that people have recommended me. I have changed them, so that's why the DPS went up. And this is generally the combination that you should use for particularly cannons and of course for drones. For missiles, you can increase missile velocity, missile overall explosion speed, and missile damage. A combination of these three rigs will work. But for cannons, these three rigs are actually the perfect rigs for the highest possible damage. In the engineering rigs, this is my current combination to actually make the ship be a little bit faster and to increase the lifetime of the capacitor under the heavy load from that large shield booster. Okay, to quickly demonstrate the ship's velocity, DPS, and the active tank, let's see what the fitting window will give me now. 1539.57 hot DPS. That's battleship DPS at this moment. And that's actually very nice DPS. My goal is to hit 2000 with tier 4 rigs once they are released. The ship's resistances on shield, hull and armor are going to be very high once you enable the damage control. And again, damage control is mostly a panic button. The signature radius 359 meters under the load of the MVD, and its velocity 2.8 kilometers per second. Again, pretty decent velocity, will be a lot higher once I finish with some of skills, and will be a lot higher once I get tier 4 rigs. Now on to the second part, where should you hunt? Well, that's a pretty big map, and if you are starting PvP for the first time, I recommend that you look for targets in low-sec areas close to high-sec systems. That's where I started PvP first back when I started to play this game first. You can usually find a lot of players in those systems close to high-sec. Caldari systems are good. Serpentis systems are very populated, while Amar and Mimitar are generally not that populated. So if you want to find quick targets, then Caldari and Galante systems, low-sec systems, those usually have a high number of players, while Amar and Mimitar systems usually don't have that many players roaming around in these low-sec systems. Why is it like that? I don't know. That's based on my personal experience, and I didn't count how many ships I actually destroyed. I have several losses, couple of them, mostly PvE. At least I can count at least 3 losses, while I have around 5000 plus kills. So pretty good kill-death ratio, if you ask me. Now, once you get experience in the low sec systems close to high sec, you can go in the deeper low sec. That's low sec systems that are a little bit far away from the high sec systems, and there you can find more experienced players. You can find battle cruisers, faction frigates, faction cruisers, all that good stuff. And once you master that, once you get completely comfortable with that type of combat, then you can go into Null. In Null, you can find literally anything and anyone. And of course, those systems are the riskiest, and of course, you can find a lot of good kills over there as well. For the most profitable and fun part, I recommend to go into the deep low sec, close to null sec. That's where I found one of my best targets, one of my best kills are from these systems. And that's pretty much my hunting territory. Those systems are my hunting territory. People have been wondering if I keep that a secret. Not much. Basically all low sec and all these systems are my hunting territory in the end. And I like to change them from time to time, and just to keep things fresh. And if you follow that path, you can have a lot of fun. Now, of course, you need to be patient to find the target. Sometimes, people are at work. Some days have more traffic. Some days have less traffic. Okay, well, to quickly demonstrate how that actually works, I have some of my personal favorite kills lined up. Now, this is a prophecy. As you can see, I am in a medium anomaly. This is a Serpentis anomaly. And you can find these type of ships here very often. Now you need to shoot them down very quickly because usually they call for reinforcements and you don't want to get caught up between at least 3 other battlecruisers. So shooting them down quickly is key in this case here. And this prophecy went down very quickly thanks to the high DPS of this ship. Of course, this works with any ship that you choose. You can choose a frigate, faction frigate, you can use even a interceptor, even a bomber, although bombers are more fragile and they're more suitable for hunting down mining ships. But in this case, I'm flying a cruiser. I know players that are very deadly flying a frigate. In their case, a faction frigate. Now, you can find very good kills around these Inquisitor and Scout anomalies, and this is going to be a good demonstration of that. Now, when you warp in one of these anomalies, always be prepared for combat because in almost 100% of cases they are going to be occupied by other players who came to do these missions, these anomaly sites. Now, one of the recent kills that I had is this Cruor, again one of my favorite faction frigate to shoot at because I don't know, this ship kind of is. I don't like it that much. I love to shoot at it though. So you can find these faction frigates roaming around here. I think this faction frigate was waiting for someone to jump in, and well, a Sinabal jumped in, and that frigate had a bad day. So it was shot down, and of course you can find good loot from most of these ships. Of course, be prepared. Some of them are going to be, waiting as I do, and they are going to be prepared for PvP. So you can expect some very, very interesting content in these Scout or Inquisitor anomalies. Most of my favorite kills are actually from these Inquisitor or Scout anomalies, and so far I am mostly looking for them because again they offer the best kills that I did have so far. And of course you can get good ISK out of these anomalies. If you end up not finding anyone, you can do the anomaly yourself, and you can actually, after you do the anomaly, you can camp the anomaly. That's one of the tactics that I did explain before. Now this Vexor is also one very, very good example of the ships that you can find in these types of deep low sec systems. And in this case, you need to be very fast. Some of them are going to be trying to warp off, and that's where the MVD kicks in, and that's where the Scrambler and Disruptor also kick in. Once you capture the enemy ship by surprise, then there is little that they can do. They can defend themselves, but in most cases they will panic. And you should use that panic to your gain, because by the time they react to actually start defending themselves, you will have a significant advantage over them. And that's also one of the tricks that hunters like to use, something that I pretty much developed once I started to play the game. And that's one of the best hunting tactics that you can have. The surprise attack, out of nowhere type of attack, is the best type of attack while you are roaming. Now, of course, some players, in this case, some players like me, they are generally prepared for any type of engagement that includes this prophecy. This was, by the way, my riskiest PvP that I've done with the Sinabal. Definitely one of the riskiest PvPs that I've ever done actually in this game. And that's why I say you should fly ships that you are familiar with, ships that you know how to fly, ships that you have good skills for. And in this case, my adversary has better skills than I have on this ship. That's why the target here is going to give such a good fight. Again, watching this again is making me sweat because this was a very interesting fight, and definitely will make me and did make me change my fit. Although I have to do some skills first before I can actually put my fit that I imagined in actual use. Now this player here was also hunting, doing the same thing that I was doing. This is a hunter versus hunter in this case. Both ships, both pilots here are prepared to shoot down other players. We came here for this sole purpose, to shoot other players. So in this case, both of our wishes were granted. It's just that the Cinnabal has a slight advantage over this prophecy, and that is very good DPS, and again, very good survivability on this ship. And this is where close call was a good fight, and good example on to what kind of ships you can find again in these type of anomalies. Okay, and of course, once you finish a fight, immediately go to a safe spot or warp off to another anomaly, because you never know what you can stumble upon. You never know who can warp in. In this case, if someone decided to warp in on me, I would have been toasted. Okay, now time to roll out the arbitrator a little bit. Now, in a lot of cases, you will see players swap off and you can give chase. It is something that I always do. I always give chase if I see where they warp out. So this character warped at this belt. Okay, I am warping in at the belt. Sometimes it can be a trap, and people know how to take advantage of these traps. And in this case, I warped in on 3 ships. One miner that warped off, and this caracal that I chased, and this one arbitrator that engaged this caracal. Well, in this case, I'll be focusing on the ship that is representing the higher threat, and that would be this arbitrator. Now, if these two were making a trap, I would be in trouble, because these two ships can easily destroy my ship that doesn't have a tank at the moment. This is how I roll this arbitrator without a tank, because it relies on stealth, and my protection, my tank, quotation marks tank, is the cloaking device, because I can hide. And if they can't see me, they can't shoot me, and that means I am perfectly safe. Once the arbitrator is shot down, don't go immediately after the pod, go immediately after the next ship, because the pod can't shoot at you, but this caracal can, so the caracal will be the next target. This is a dual propulsion fit. I use the afterburner to orbit and the MVD to quickly engage the target. And well, I ended up to be victorious here. So I did destroy both these ships. And well, as we can see, I think both of them kind of panicked, and I kept my cool, and I was able to shoot down both of them while taking minimal damage. That was one of my most interesting fights back before I bought the Cinnabal. And of course, always loot the racks. You never know what you can find. Usually very good items, and items that you can either sell or use. Now, always be prepared again for a heavy fight. You never know what you can stumble upon. In this case, again, a pirate. All right, another pirate. A very honorable pilot, by the way. Did engage this caracal, and I am taking the advantage of them fighting each other to shoot down the highest threat. In this case, that is this Talvar Assault, a very powerful ship that I will admit I am scared of after this fight, because these assault destroyers can be very deadly. And this Talvar shot down the Caracal, and now I am the target. I am webbed. I am scrambled. Good. While the Caracal is destroyed, the Caracal bought me time, and I did take some armor damage there. That was kind of a close call, and that was nice loot. As you can see, I took the advantage of them fighting to eliminate the highest threat, and that's how I survived this encounter with minimal damage. Could have been worse, and that's how I made a very nice kill. Well then, that was the Hunter's Guide. I think this will be the part 1. I definitely will have to make part 2 at some point. I hope this was helpful. Fly safe, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.